After about a couple of days of this news breaking out about Caleb Williams, I decided to give myself a little bit of time to kind of think over the facts and see, what really do I think about this? And just like how I felt when I first heard the news, I still feel the exact same way now. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Back Sports, and I'm so back with another video. And listen, I think you've been inundated as Bears fans with this knowledge of, the Caleb Williams news, pre-draft news, and the concerns with him being the number one overall pick going to the Chicago Bears. Very valid concerns. But if those for those of you who don't know, there's a new book, in a new book with Seth Wickersham, it was revealed that Williams was so concerned about being picked by the Bears that he and his dad, Carl Williams, considered a different avenues to avoid being drafted by the Chicago Bears. And listen, from the perspective of, your son going to the NFL and you having a large say in where he goes potentially, um, and as a parent, you would definitely want your son to be in a thriving scenario and not jeopardize his career. And given how badly and poorly run the Chicago Bears have been when it comes to developing a quarterback, it is a very valid concern for Carl Williams and company pretty much to, try to find different ways. And listen, Caleb came out and said, like, to his dad privately and was like, hey, if there's a chance, we should try finding a way out. And, that picked up steam. And, Carl Williams obviously went out around and kind of like spread this little rumor about, like, listen, we don't want the Bears to draft them, pretty much. Essentially pulling Eli Manning, as what RG3 would say. And, just like you said, the main reason to do it with the Chicago Bears development of quarterbacks, Justin Fields, Mr. Trubisky, both first round picks, unsuccessful in Chicago. And listen, and even before that too, with the herd as well, saying this pre-draft, saying, listen, there's people in his camp that aren't interested with the Bears getting him. And listen, at the end of the day, it is completely valid on Carl's side. What I don't find valid is the fact that they went public with this. And it's just genuinely like puts a bad rep on your son per se. I understand that Chicago isn't necessarily the most glamorous place when it comes to, QB development. Haven't seen a 4,000 yard passer in its entire history, so it's very valid. And on top of that, and we'll get more into the coaching staff and the staff that's present at the time. The staff was terrible. You had Justin Fields with Matt Eberflus and Luke Getzey. You fired Luke Getzey and retain Matt Eberflus, which to this day I still don't understand what the reasoning for that was. Great that you fired Luke Getzey, but why did you keep Matt Eberflus in the first place if you're going to draft a quarterback? That's the same mistake we did with Mitch Trubisky with Matt Nagy, and then from Matt Nagy to Justin Fields, and then Matt Eberflus, and then the bridge quarterback scenario. Genuinely concerning. And now with Caleb Williams, this is going to be his second year, and he's going to have a new head coach in Ben Johnson. So the cycle technically isn't over. But as of right now, the only reason this is different, this time it feels a little bit different, is the fact that Ben Johnson, it was arguably, if not the top candidate when it comes to being a head coaching candidate in this cycle of coaches. And the fact that the Bears got him and the staff that Ben Johnson curated for Caleb Williams' development, and with the priority being his development, shows you exactly what kind of direction the Chicago Bears are going in when it comes to prioritizing, getting that number one overall pick developed in Caleb Williams after that horrendous season he had last year. And just give more context as well. Like, Ben Johnson went out and also said, you talk about fears. I don't see it quite the same way. I see it as a way, as what a great opportunity that we have to do something that's never been done. Never been a 4,000 yard passer in the franchise history. And I think Caleb is going to be the first one. That alone is really, really good and really assuring. And also on top of that too, like you also have to not blame Caleb Williams about this, like per se, because Caleb never really came out and said like to anyone. He was well, it was just well in within the private circle. But as soon as he met with the staff, in his pre-draft visit, he all the concerns kind of slowly dissipated, and he ends up being like, okay, I'll be okay with being drafted by the Chicago Bears. That is obviously going to be all that matters. And to kind of now that I've given the context, my thought process is, and my kind of verdict is, who cares? Like, genuinely, who cares? Like, this happened over a year ago, and this is just from a book. At the end of the day, Caleb Williams has played a full season with us. He is completely fine. There's no reason where he has shown that he does not like being here. Obviously, last season with Shane Waldron, Matt Eberflus, the whole debacle, obviously he wouldn't. What else could we show? He'd be happy that every single time that he got sacked, or he has to be frustrated. There were so numerous times where there were boneheaded decisions being done by our coaching staff. Listen, Caleb Williams deserves some blame, but the development process, the inability to sit with him and watch film—that's another story too. Because the fact that your offensive coordinator, head coach, or passing game coordinator, which to be fair, Thomas Brown also has some blame as well when it comes to not sitting with Caleb Williams, your number one overall pick, and going through film with them. That should be, what are we doing? Like, genuine, that's the more bigger concern. Like the whole issue of the whole news about Shane Waldron early on in the offseason, like saying that he was not sitting and participating with Caleb Williams when it comes to his development, his film sessions and stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's important that even if you are number one overall pick, number two overall pick, and I said this on Twitter as well, um, it doesn't matter how high you were picked. At the end of the day, development is development. And learning film from high school to college is different. And then from college to the NFL is also different. Therefore, in your rookie year, you have to have some a little bit of handholding, a little bit. Obviously, there has to be some accountability. There has to be some assertiveness when it comes to being a top pick and you handling things in a very professional manner and doing things on your own without being asked to do so. That's completely fair. But the fact of the matter is, Caleb Williams is literally begging Shane Waldron to give him film or study with him. Essentially, it's like you asking your teacher constantly via email to help you with this one math problem or this before an exam, and they can continuously leave you on red or not even on red, like just don't even regard your email. That's what Caleb Williams is going through, but in a more grand scheme of things. So what is the whole point of this? Pretty much absolutely nothing. Like, we do not learn anything from this except for the fact that how terrible the whole film study situation is, and it just proves that they will continue to find ways to kind of discredit what Caleb Williams has done. And at the end of the day, as well, you got to take into account, even with the limited pay, uh, film study that he's had, and he has to just study by himself pretty much and kind of work things himself. He still, and this is the crazy part, still manages to get 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions to end the season, and break multiple Bears rookie records as well. Let that sink in. He was only like 300 ish yards away from breaking the all-time passing record for just the Chicago Bears alone. And I think that was held by what, Jay Cutler, or I'm sorry, Eric Kramer, I think. Eric Kramer, that had 3,800 yards. He was pretty close if it weren't for a couple games and to start out. But the fact that he did that with the turmoil of firing your offensive coordinator, firing your head coach, having interim head coach be the head coach, sorry, your interim offensive coordinator become the head coach. That is if that's not generation, I don't know what is. Because I get it. He should be carrying this team. And you see Dayton Daniels, you see Bo Nix do have incredible seasons, but that's not apples to apples. Jaden Daniels was already in a great scenario when it comes to, having the supporting cast that he needs. He didn't have to deal with multiple firings of the staff. He didn't have to deal with film study sessions issues and stuff. He didn't have to deal with a locker room that was in disarray due to said head coaches. Same with Bo Nix as well. He had a very steady head coach when it comes to Sean Payton. And the Broncos as an organization, given even though they in the last couple of years it's been kind of a train wreck, they figured it out with him. And John Payton got his guy, was able to mold it. They had a relatively decent offensive line. Everything was perfect. Caleb had to deal with a lot more factors as well. And I'm not saying that this is all on the staff. This is not on Caleb. Caleb has to take accountability for the sacks that he's been taking, but got to give credit where credit is due, man. Like Caleb is literally the fact that in his first year, he almost swept the Packers. Almost swept them in his first year. Trubisky did not do that. Justin Fields did not do that. Like, what are we talking about here? But at the end of the day, like we gotta take this into like the outlook. We have Ben Johnson now. We have a bright future ahead of us. We made some offensive line moves, made some additions in free agency, had a relatively decent and pretty solid draft, I would like to say. So we'll at time will tell when it comes to the Chicago Bears. But this whole Caleb Williams news trying to discredit him and kind of bludgeon his character, I'm not going to stand for it. This is the whole nothing burger story at the end of the day. But I just wanted to give you my 2 cents out there. But it's been So Back Sports, guys. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to have as much content in the off season as possible. So feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up to date. Be sure to follow my socials down below with my my Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and whatnot. It's all at So Back Sports. And as always, guys, we'll see you guys in the next one.